These 15 secretly amazing games have beaten even some of the biggest AAA titles out there. Kicking things off at number 15, we have Bright Memory Infinite, a jaw-dropping visual spectacle that proves a solo developer can punch well above their weight. The game looks like something you'd expect from a massive AAA studio, blending fast-paced first-person combat with stunning visuals that push the boundaries of what you'd expect from a small-scale production. Its beautiful environments, smooth combat mechanics, and tight controls make for an unforgettable experience, and yet it came from a single developer. That's right, one person crafted this gem, making it not just an indie success, but a direct challenge to the bigger established names in the industry. What really sets this game apart, though, is the fluidity of its gameplay. You're jumping across rooftops, shooting enemies midair, and weaving through tight combat scenarios with a level of precision that most AAA titles struggle to achieve. Add in the cyberpunk aesthetic, futuristic guns, and jaw-dropping enemies, and it's clear that Bright Memory Infinite isn't just a showpiece, it's a gameplay powerhouse. While it may not have the budget or years of development like its major counterparts, the way it captures the essence of action-packed thrill rides with such fluidity, all within a relatively short time frame, leaves you with a feeling that big studios have some serious catching up to do. At number 14, we have Crackdown 3, a game that is often overlooked despite offering one of the most satisfying power fantasies ever made. Sure, it might not have revolutionized the open world genre, but what it does offer is pure, unadulterated fun. The premise is simple. You play as a superpowered agent in a futuristic city, using explosive weapons and superhuman abilities to take down criminals. There's something about the world of Crackdown 3 that feels ridiculously satisfying, whether you're leaping from building to building or smashing through enemies like they're made of paper. The game's main selling point is its scale. Sure, the graphics might not be groundbreaking and the story might not win any awards, but there's a certain joy in seeing how much destruction you can cause. The open world setting gives you plenty of room to experiment and test your abilities in ways that most other games of the same genre simply don't allow. It's an underrated gem that understands the value of good old-fashioned fun and doesn't try to overcomplicate things. It's an exercise in freedom, and in a market where overstuffed games often struggle to find their identity, Crackdown 3 knew exactly what it wanted to be. Coming in at number 13 is Ghostwire Tokyo, a game that doesn't just ask you to explore a haunted city, it dares you to survive in it. Right from the beginning, it throws you into a stylized version of Tokyo that's both mesmerizing and terrifying, filled with eerie streets, creepy spirits, and a constant sense that something's just not right. It might not have the adrenaline-fueled pacing of your typical action game, but Ghostwire Tokyo makes up for it with atmosphere, originality, and a deeply satisfying sense of mystery. The game stands out for its unique fusion of first-person combat and spell-slinging exorcist-style abilities that feel more mystical and ritualistic than anything mechanical. Instead of guns and grenades, you're using finger-weaving and ethereal blasts to purify spirits and fend off some truly creepy enemies. Sure, the pacing can be a bit slower compared to other action-heavy titles, but that slower tempo lets you take in the richly detailed environments and actually feel like a paranormal detective walking through a haunted cityscape. As you roam the neon-lit alleys and rooftops of Shibuya, you realize Ghostwire Tokyo doesn't need explosive set pieces or endless NPC chatter to grip you. It gets under your skin in the best way. It had a few rough edges when it launched, but players quickly came to appreciate its unique vibe and refreshingly different approach. It's not just stylish, it's strange in all the right ways, and that's exactly what makes it unforgettable. Landing at number 12, World War Z Aftermath is the chaotic zombie shooter that somehow slipped through the cracks, despite being everything you'd want from a co-op apocalypse experience. Inspired by the book, yes, and sort of the film, sure, but what it really delivers is a pulse-pounding, cooperative thrill ride. You and your squad are dropped into sprawling global hotspots from the Vatican to Kamchatka, fighting off tidal waves of the undead. And when I say waves, I mean literal towers of zombies clawing over one another, just to reach you. It's absurd, it's intense, and it's exactly the kind of wild energy that puts a lot of polished but bland shooters to shame. The magic lies in its class-based system and seamless blend of survival strategy. It borrows Left 4 Dead's formula but refines it, layering in weapon customization, progression trees, and some surprisingly smart AI systems. Aftermath in particular sharpened the base game, added melee combat, and even introduced a first-person mode for those who really wanted to get up close and personal with the apocalypse. It may not have the same cinematic budget or prestige of something like The Last of Us. World War Z Aftermath nails what matters most: tight gameplay, satisfying challenge, and the kind of high-stakes teamwork that keeps you and your friends coming back.
Insane!
Crashing in at number 11 is Sifu, and when I say crashing, I mean with fists, kicks, and flying furniture. This martial arts revenge tale from Slow Clap is a stylish, punishing brawler that takes everything we love about kung fu movies and turns it into one of the most finely tuned combat systems in gaming. At first glance, it might seem like a beat-em-up with a cool aesthetic, but play for 10 minutes and you'll realize it demands precision, timing, and a level of patience that's downright meditative. Every fight feels personal, every combo feels earned, and every room you clear leaves you feeling like an action movie legend. But what truly sets Sifu apart is its clever twist on failure. Each time you die, your character ages, gaining strength at the cost of health, trading youth for power. It turns each playthrough into a balancing act between mastery and mortality, and suddenly every fight has consequences. It's a mechanic that's both poetic and brutal, and it fits the story's theme like a glove. Many major studios nowadays are busy chasing open worlds and cinematic cutscenes, but Sifu, it builds emotional weight directly into its mechanics. It's a fight game, sure, but also a lesson in control, discipline, and what it means to walk the path of vengeance no matter how old you get. Slashing its way into the number 10 spot is Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood, a game that had every reason to fail and yet somehow delivers something uniquely cathartic. At face value, it's an action RPG based on the World of Darkness universe. But here's the thing, Earthblood embraces its weirdness and doubles down on raw animalistic violence. Unlike the overly sanitized fights in most games, this title lets you transform into a hulking rage beast and tear enemies limb from limb. It's loud, messy, and completely unhinged in the best way. What makes it interesting is how it juggles three forms of gameplay: human stealth, wolf exploration, and werewolf chaos. It's not always perfect. The stealth can feel clunky and the level design isn't groundbreaking, but there's an undeniable charm in how it encourages you to switch mindsets on the fly. One minute you're sneaking through a facility as a man, the next you're sprinting through vents as a wolf, and then suddenly you're ripping through corporate security as a full-blown monster. For all its imperfections, the game never pretends to be something it's not. It knows it's a power fantasy and it delivers on that front spectacularly. Sometimes you don't want subtlety. You want blood, claws, and howling at the moon, and this game gets that. Claiming the 9th spot on our list is The Pathless, a game that doesn't scream for your attention with explosions or over-the-top set pieces, but instead whispers it through atmosphere, motion, and elegance. You play as the hunter, a silent archer accompanied by a majestic eagle navigating a cursed island to cleanse it of darkness. Sounds simple, right? But there's a rhythm to it, an entrancing dance between speed, exploration, and archery that flows like nothing else. Unlike most games that rely on towers or map markers, The Pathless trusts the player's intuition. There's no traditional map system at all. You move swiftly by shooting talismans in the environment to maintain momentum, like skating across land guided by instinct. It makes traversal feel more like a performance than a mechanic, and when you're airborne with your eagle companion soaring over forests and ruins, you genuinely forget you're playing a game. But it's not just about movement though. Boss fights in The Pathless are dramatic multi-phase chases against towering cursed spirits where the music swells and the world twists around you. In a landscape full of games that desperately want to hold your hand, The Pathless dares to let you wander, and that's where the magic happens. At number 8, we have Evil West, a game that doesn't care about being deep or artsy. It just wants you to have fun smashing vampires, zapping werewolves, and blowing up monsters with a lightning-powered fist. It's like Devil May Cry mixed with Red Dead Redemption, but even crazier and full of wild action. In a world where many games try too hard to be serious, Evil West is happy to just be a fast, loud, and exciting video game, and that's why it's so great. You play as Jesse Rentier, a cowboy with a bad attitude and access to steampunk weaponry built to kill the unkillable. The combat is what truly makes Evil West shine. It's chunky, aggressive, and unrelentingly fun. You're not just shooting enemies from afar, you're dashing in, uppercutting them into the air, chaining electricity through a mob, and then finishing with a shotgun to the face. What's wild is that this game, with all its style and mechanical polish, got buried under a wave of louder major releases, which is criminal because Evil West proves that tight design, stylish presentation, and unpretentious fun can absolutely compete with big budget giants. Taking the 7th spot, we have Wreckfest, an unapologetically brutal demolition racing game that throws the idea of polished racing simulators out the window. While other racing games are worried about brand partnerships and realistic tire physics, Wreckfest drops you into a dirt arena and says, survive. It's part racing, part chaos, and completely obsessed with destruction. And honestly, that's what makes it glorious. Every race in this game is a gamble. You might be leading the pack one lap and then get sideswiped into a wall the next, your car reduced to a flaming heap of twisted metal. The damage modeling is stunningly detailed, and somehow it all feeds back into the gameplay. This isn't just eye candy. Your car handles worse as it takes damage, and that makes every decision count. The best thing about Wreckfest, it doesn't care about being realistic. It only cares about being crazy fun, and in doing so, it ends up feeling more real than games with 10 times its budget. While other racers are clean, corporate, and careful, Wreckfest is unhinged, wild, and proudly rough around the edges. Securing the 6th position is Returnal. This PlayStation exclusive doesn't merely experiment with the roguelike genre, it fully embraces it. You assume the role of Celine, a space explorer trapped in a punishing time loop on an alien planet, where each death marks not an end but a new beginning. What sets Returnal apart from other shooters is its uncompromising vision. It's blisteringly fast, unforgiving, and steeped in eerie atmosphere. One moment you're weaving through barrages of neon projectiles, the next you're unraveling cryptic narrative fragments that hint at psychological horror. Mechanically, it excels. Gunplay is precise, enemy designs are inventive, and movement is fluid, creating a dance of evasion and aggression. However, Returnal's brilliance lies not just in its difficulty, but in its fairness. Each defeat teaches a lesson, each attempt hones your skills, and when you finally conquer a boss that once seemed undefeatable, the rush of triumph is unparalleled. In an era where many games prioritize accessibility, Returnal stands defiant, challenging players to adapt and overcome. That refusal to compromise is what cements its legacy. Smashing its way into number 5 is Trepang 2, a game you might have missed but absolutely refuses to be ignored once you play it. At first glance, it feels like a fever dream from the golden age of Fear-style shooters, dark corridors, blood-soaked gunfights, and slow-mo sequences so satisfying they should be illegal. But this isn't some nostalgia project. It's a modern love letter to explosive first-person chaos, wrapped in sleek mechanics and a surprisingly sinister vibe. You're dropped into the combat boots of a super soldier with memory loss and a taste for destruction. What follows is a non-stop barrage of gunfights, bullet holes, shattered glass, and ragdoll physics. This isn't just shooting, it's systematic annihilation, executed through fluid combinations of slow-motion dives, brutal melee strikes, and dual-wielded firepower. But beneath all the gunfire and gore lies a game with surprising polish and momentum. It knows exactly what it wants to be: fast, violent, and unapologetically hardcore. Trepang 2 doesn't waste time with filler or fake emotional arcs. It's pure, distilled adrenaline from start to finish.
Good. Pain means you're not dead. Yet.
Are the wasps that big?
Willow what?
Coming in at number 4 is Blacktail. Developed by the Parasite, this strange and mesmerizing first-person adventure casts you as Yaga, a young girl cast out for suspected witchcraft who begins unraveling a reality filled with haunted forests, whispering shadows, and supernatural forces clawing at her mind. It's not just a game, it's a dark fairy tale made playable. What makes Blacktail truly stand out is its seamless fusion of narrative and gameplay. Combat is tight and satisfying, with arrows that hit like thunder and alchemy that turns encounters into layered puzzles. But it's not all fighting. There's exploration, moral choices, and a karma system that changes not only how others treat you, but how the world looks. At its heart, Blacktail explores duality, the interplay of light and darkness, the tension between innocence and dominion, the weight of choice against the pull of destiny. It could have settled for being another surreal indie game, but instead it delivers a fully realized, mechanically inventive adventure that embraces bold, creative choices and executes them flawlessly. This is a dark, mesmerizing fairy tale, one that lingers long after the final chapter. Breaking into the top 3, we have Hellblade 2. Built on Unreal Engine 5, it's a sequel that feels less like a video game and more like an interactive psychological film. From the very first frame, it immerses you in a hauntingly realistic world, brought to life through stunning visuals, exceptional sound design, and a powerful performance by lead actress Melina Juergens. The level of fidelity here is on another level entirely. Facial animations, lighting, and environmental details rival the sum of the best studios can deliver. But Hellblade 2 isn't just a visual showcase, it's an emotionally intense experience. The game continues to explore tenuous struggle with psychosis, using audio cues, inner voices, and visual distortions to put you directly in her mental space. It doesn't rely on typical combat-heavy pacing. Instead, it builds tension through storytelling, slow exploration, and carefully placed confrontations that feel brutal and impactful. This is a game that dares to be different. While many titles lean into spectacle, Hellblade 2 leans into authenticity and emotional depth. It's less about wide-open worlds or endless side quests and more about precision, atmosphere, and narrative focus. It's a title that proves games don't need to be loud to be powerful, just honest, bold, and technically brilliant.
Nobody would ever even miss your punk ass, would they?
Get that gun away from me, psycho! No!
Claiming the second spot is Life is Strange, a story-driven, episodic game that caught many by surprise. Released by Dontnod Entertainment in 2015, it didn't arrive with much fanfare, but quickly built a dedicated following thanks to its deeply emotional narrative and time rewind mechanic. You play as Max Caulfield, a high school student who discovers she can rewind time, an ability that becomes the centerpiece of a coming-of-age story filled with mystery, friendship, and difficult choices. The game sets itself apart through its quiet humanity and vulnerability. While larger titles often focus on world-ending stakes, this game is more intimate, centered around characters, relationships, and the ripple effect of your actions. The dialogue, soundtrack, and art style all work together to create a melancholic but relatable atmosphere. It's proof that narrative depth can leave a stronger impression than graphical spectacle. Life is Strange may not compete in terms of raw power, but when it comes to emotional impact, it's more meaningful than many blockbuster titles. It's a reminder that subtle storytelling and character connection can rival any high-budget production.
Leave my country alone! Oh, you pissed off the wrong POTUS, assholes!
Finally, at the top of our list is Saints Row 4, a game that embraced chaos in a way no AAA title dared to. While many remember the earlier entries in the series as GTA clones, this fourth installment fully leaned into absurdity. Set in a simulation controlled by aliens, you play as the President of the United States with superpowers. From running up skyscrapers to launching enemies into orbit, Saints Row 4 is unapologetically over the top from start to finish. The gameplay loop is fast, fluid, and often ridiculous, but that's the point. It strips away realism and embraces freedom, turning the open world genre into a sandbox of explosive creativity. Whether you're gliding through the air with telekinetic powers or wiping out alien hordes with dubstep guns, the game never takes itself too seriously, and that's exactly what makes it so refreshing. Underneath all the satire, though, there's a surprisingly solid game engine and mission structure holding it together. In an industry where open world games can sometimes feel bloated and formulaic, Saints Row 4 stands out for its sheer willingness willingness to have fun. It mocks gaming tropes while still delivering a highly polished experience filled with content, customization, and memorable moments. It might not carry the prestige of a traditional open world title, but in terms of pure entertainment, it arguably delivers more than most of them.